Hi guys, and welcome to Cruise Buoys Story Time. These are a collection of stories that you may or may not have seen in our regular videos. And today's stories are about food. Now, we all know that food is such an important part of the cruise, and today we want to share with you 5 of our worst dining experiences at sea. So, want to find out what they were? You better stay tuned. Welcome back. Just before we get into our story time today, I just wanted to take the time to ask if you'd consider subscribing to our channel. It costs you absolutely nothing. It's easy to do. You just hit that subscribe button, click the thumbs up while you're there, and also, if you want to, ring the bell for notifications so you never miss out on any of our content. So, let's get on with the show. Number 5, Chops Grill, Royal Caribbean, Wonder of the Seas. So, Tristan and I had heard a lot about Chops Grill. We like this American sort of steakhouse vibe, we've been to steakhouses in New York, and that's kind of what we thought the experience would be like in Chops Grill. So Tristan and I had booked Chops Grill, and we went there at the time that we'd reserved, which is at 7:45, walked in the door, and the maitre d' was there, didn't even look up, didn't acknowledge us at all, and then just walked off. He came back, stood at the desk, typed away on the computer, didn't acknowledge us at all, and then I felt like I had to say something. So at that time I said, "Excuse me, we've got a reservation." And he was kind of like, "Hang on." And I was like, "Okay." And then he grabbed the menus and he proceeded to walk around the desk and right into me. No apology, no nothing, and just sort of shoehorned us in a corner of the restaurant to sit down and have our meal. Now, the meal itself, or the service itself, was pretty slow, and I could see that everyone was busy. So usually with specialty dining experiences, it's nice for it to go on a little bit. But for me, after it gets too long, then I start to get very agitated. So it had taken a long time between us ordering and getting our entree, and then again to our main meal. Probably one of the most disappointing parts of this meal was the main meal, which was the steak. I mean, it's supposed to be the star of the show. And when they brought the steaks out, they asked us to cut into the steaks to make sure that they had been cooked to how we like them. Tristan has his rare, I have my medium, and when Tristan cut into his steak, it was pretty much medium to well, and he said, "This is a bit overcooked for me." And we would have expected the waiter to then say, "Okay, let me take that away and change it for you. Not an issue, it happens." But instead he just turned on his heels and walked away, and we were sat thinking, okay, well, what now? And he didn't come back. So we decided, well, I suppose we better eat our steaks. Wasn't the best steaks. And the service was just, it was just so slow. And to get a drink or to get anything, it was kind of, and I hate doing this, but having to turn around and look for waiters and trying to catch their eye for them to come over and serve us. Because we'd been in this restaurant for so long, we thought, I don't want to. I was getting really agitated, and we had to go and pick Josh up from Kids Club. And I thought, if it's taken this long for the entree and the main to come out, then it's going to take forever for the dessert to come out. And when we did see what desserts were coming out, we were not really impressed at all. They did not look like the quality that we would have expected out of a specialty restaurant.
Steak was meh.
Yeah, very underwhelming.
The size
were cold.
Really, I ordered the truffle chips, which I normally like truffle chips, and it was stone cold.
So I think the most surprising thing about this Chops Grill experience, apart from the service and the waiting and the food not sort of cooked, or just lack of attention, was that when we were in the main dining room the next night, we looked at the menu, and a lot of the items that were actually on the main dining room menu were on the chopped squirrel menu. And so it left us thinking, well, why do we spend all that extra money to go to chopped squirrel when we could have had something similar in the main dining room? Number 4, Limelight Club, P&O Iona. Tristan and Josh got to go on P&O Iona last year, and that was unfortunately without me.
Bye! They left me behind!
This story is a little bit secondhand, but I have seen the photos, I've seen the videos, and I have to agree with Tristan, it wasn't the most pleasant sort of meal that he'd had. Tristan decided to go and book into the Limelight Club with another vlogger, Lizzie Lou from Travels with Lizzie Lou, and they decided to do a show and a dinner package. So the food was okay, but when it got to the dessert, it was something that looked, and I quote from Tristan, looked like frog spawn and pine toilet cleaner. He said it was the most revolting thing that he's eaten. He cannot understand why they would have it on the menu when it was that bad. And by looking at some of the other people in the Limelight Club with the same meal, they were not very impressed or happy at all. So I'd have to say, frog spawn and pine toilet cleaner, not for me. Number 3, MSC, multiple restaurants. So MSC in the main dining room have a particular course which is known as the beetroot risotto. Now, for any of you that have either had it or have seen online other vloggers or other people who have had this, you'll know that it's a bit of a flop. The way in which I can describe it is it looks like probably purple sick on a plate, and to be quite honest, it doesn't taste much better. It was probably the worst dish that MSC served on their ships. Yeah, it just was not appetizing to look at, and it was definitely not appetizing to eat. Number 2, Chef's Garden Kitchen, MSC World Europa. Now, it sounds like I'm having a go at MSC, but truly I'm not. So MSC World Europa is their newest flagship, and it has bought some of the favorites from its other ships like teppanyaki bars and butcher's cut, but also looked at including some new and exciting restaurants. And one of these restaurants is Chef's Garden Kitchen. Now, the concept of Chef's Garden Kitchen is that they grow their own micro herbs on board. So when you go into the restaurant, you will see that there's like these, how can I call them, like little greenhouses or pods, and you can see where they are actually growing a lot of micro herbs in them. Now, I'd have to say it was one of the most interesting menus that I've eaten at sea, and very experimental. Now, when we were there, we had some quite interesting starters, mains, but by the time we got to dessert, that's where it got really, really weird. And I think my dessert was possibly a step too far. So if I can describe it like this, that I had sort of a dome which had caramel poured on it, and in there was an ice cream which was buckthorn wheat, I think it's called buckthorn, and verbena. Now, for me, if you can imagine, verbena for me tastes a little bit like soap. So if you got a caramel with buckthorn and verbena like soap, can you imagine what it tasted like? I love my desserts. I've got a sweet tooth, but I could not finish this dessert. I could not finish this dessert. I tried my best. I did give back my feedback to the wait staff, and said it's great that they're trying new things, but maybe this dessert was a step too far. Number 1, MSC Seaview Golden Sands Restaurant. This is a story that many of you have probably heard, and I don't want to go into it in great detail because there is a Cruise Buoys story time about this experience. So cutting a long story short, we had boarded the ship. We went to a restaurant to change our dining time. The next morning we were given a slip of paper that told us our new restaurant, dining time, and the table that we were supposed to sit at. And we went to the table with our in-laws, myself, Tristan and Josh, sat down, had our drinks, were looking through the food menu, and we noticed that a family was standing off to the side. I had that instinct, hang on, I think we're at the wrong, or we've been given the wrong table. They had spoken to the waiter, and the waiter got very, very angry at us and basically had told us to get out of the restaurant. And this is because there obviously had been a mistake, and the dining experience was terrible because of the fact that the waiter was very verbal or very loud, had physically touched my mother-in-law to sort of get her out of the restaurant. There was no apology. The waiter had scribbled out all our information on the piece of slip of paper that we'd given and had put another restaurant and another table number on it. And yeah, basically told us to get out. It was quite embarrassing because everyone around could see what was happening. After that, we spoke to the maitre d'. We were seated at another table in that restaurant, but it wasn't the best experience. It was quite embarrassing. On complaining about that experience, though, MSC really went all out to try and rectify the situation as much as possible. So I think there was a positive resolution there in the end. So which of these food and dining experiences do you think was the worst one for us? I'm going to wait and let you comment below. But let's talk about some positive dining experiences that we've had. So one of the best dining experiences that we've had at sea was on Celebrity Beyond in the restaurant Le Voyage. Now, Le Voyage is a 5-star restaurant. It is expensive. We had paid for a fixed menu, and then we went for a tasting menu, so we did pay a bit more. And then there was an option of wine pairings, which we didn't take because it would have made the meal already that was astronomically expensive even more expensive. The restaurant's quite nice. There is a little bit of a downside in that it has like 2 double doors and it leads out onto the martini bar, which can get quite loud if you've been on any of those classes of ship. So as one door opens, the other door opens, and if there's music going on, it'll filter all the way through. So I think that's sort of something that Celebrity should maybe look at, is maybe looking at timing the 2 doors to close, so it's more of an intimate and quiet environment when you're in there. Despite that though, the service was impeccable. The wine was impeccable. Even though we didn't do the wine package, we did do some kind of wine pairings, and the food was absolutely exceptional. The tasting menu was beyond this world, and I had probably had the best dessert that I've ever eaten. Now, I'm lactose intolerant, so sometimes when I am on board, I have a couple of issues with some cruise lines with being able to find food that fits my dietary requirements and what I like to eat. And this was a vegan raspberry pavlova, and it was the best dessert I've ever eaten in my life. I cannot explain how good it was. It was good. Even Tristan was like wanting to tuck into it as well. And hands down, it's probably not only just at sea, but one of the best items that I've ever eaten. Another line that does really incredible food, and this is in the MDR, and was an absolute surprise to us because this cruise line has been slated in the past for one, its food, and one, its ships and its service. But when we went on Costa, we had the best main dining room food that we've had at sea, and you wouldn't expect it. As I said, the food was amazing. The menu changed every night, and it changed to a menu that was geared towards the destination that you were going to. There was plenty of things on that menu that you would normally typically find in a specialty dining restaurant. I have to say, I actually ate better in the main dining room on Costa than in a lot of other specialty restaurants on board other ships. It wasn't just the food itself, it was the presentation. So it wasn't all just slapdash on the plate. It was really, really well presented food. So I would never discount Costa if you're a foodie and you're wanting to eat good food on a cruise ship. So it's that time. Which did you think was our worst dining experience? Well, the worst dining experience would have had to have been on MSC Seaview in the Golden Sands restaurant when we were thrown out. As I had said before, it was the most unpleasant dining experience that we'd had at sea. It was embarrassing. It escalated to a point where it should not have escalated. And as I said before, there is a video that you can check out. And if you want to, if you click over here, you can go and check it out after this video if you haven't already. So that's it from us. How about you comment below and let us know about your dining experiences. Tell us about a time where you've probably not had the best dining experience, or tell us when you've had an absolutely, truly remarkable dining experience. So until next time, bye everyone. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, like, comment and share.